And welcome to Money and Margaritas. I'm Chris.
And hi, I'm Jenny. If you're new to our channel, we are all about inspiring financial independence so that we all have the time to focus on what matters and design a life we love. So we will be covering all sorts of topics, including real estate investing, margarita recipes, how to save money, how to create cash flow, and so much more. We hope you join us.
And of course, we want to make talking about money just a little bit more fun, hence the margaritas.
Cheers.
Cheers. Okay, welcome everyone. Today we wanted to talk about how to choose a vacation rental property manager in Hawaii, and in particular, Maui. So, first off, you want to check references, right? So you want to ask the property managers that you're looking at, and maybe even first you look at some of their reviews, right? Look online, look at some reviews, and then once you've narrowed it down to a few, ask for their references. And they'll provide typically, at least 3, maybe 3 to 5, or maybe even more. But, after you get those references, follow up. Make sure you follow up with them.
Yes.
The references are key. And you'd be surprised at how willing people are to share their experiences and either good or bad, and you want to know that, right?
Yep.
So, checking those sources, following up, and then, it's really great to understand the pros and cons and be able to, talk to those sources and references about possibly your concerns or, just their experiences. So.
Yeah. And we actually learned quite a few things that we didn't even know just by calling the references. One was just how important it was to have someone actually on island, like in the area that our condo was at. So that's something I didn't really think about because there were some that were kind of on the other side of the island, and I didn't realize how long it takes if you're on the other side of the island to actually get to like where the property would be. So that was something that was really helpful just from the references. So definitely recommend doing that. The next tip that we have is really ask and understand what services they offer and if they really are full service. So if you are, have a rental property but you are out of state, you really want to make sure that it's full service. And what I mean by that is I want them to do everything, and I also want to make sure that they have 24-hour service. So if there's a guest that needs something and let's say the plumbing's down or something happens, I want them to be able to call any time of day and have someone answer and be able to resolve their problem. Because what's really important is for the guests to have like the best experience possible, and you can't do that if there isn't someone available 24/7. So ask things like that. Something that I learned from the property manager is that in Hawaii, Maui specifically, when you're operating a short-term rental, there's definitely a lot of rules and additional paperwork and taxes that actually have to be set up properly and also paid monthly. So they actually do that on our behalf, but it's something that I would have never have known without, really investigating and finding out kind of who is the best vacation rental manager and what are the things that I need to know. The other recommendation that we have is to ask about what technology they use. So this is super important because number one, you want to be able to communicate, especially if you're out of state. For example, having, do they have an online portal where you can log in and see what nights are booked and you can access them and what services, what expenses, what's going on with your unit in general. So that's super important. We, think it's really great to be able to see what's going on, and in addition to getting the monthly summary.
Yes, and then of course, you want to understand what their occupancy rates generally are, right? So, that's another key important factor here, that you're trying to rent this out, you really want to have a high percentage. And we were actually very pleasantly surprised with the property manager's occupancy rate. We had hoped for maybe 80%, but they were exceeding that in most cases. They said 80%, in the first few months, but after they got it up and running, it was likely going to be over 90%.
Yeah.
So, with that, it really makes it, pencil out, financially. And also, with that occupancy rates, you just need to also understand, the fees that they are expected. We were used to property managers for more longer term rentals, right, that typically might charge anywhere from 6 to 8%, or maybe as high as 10%. But you know, in a short-term rental, they're really going to be charging probably closer to about 25%, and that's what we ended up settling on. And you know, it actually is a fair rate. It seems like a lot, 25%, a quarter of what, you know, you're bringing in, but they're doing a lot of work. Right? They're doing work. They've got turnaround, you know, at least probably weekly, but maybe even, you know, every 3 to 5 days. They've got to coordinate the cleaning services. They've got to be on call. So they're really working for it. And you know, it ends up, you know, when they have such a high occupancy rate, that 25% really doesn't make a difference, you know, as far as your bottom line. So, you know, just things to consider there.
Yep. And our last tip for how to choose a property manager in Maui, you know, other than kind of just making sure that, you know, you feel like you guys are a good fit and can communicate well, is to ask for their marketing plan. So, you know, you're hiring them to basically represent you, and their job is to rent that out, make sure that everything's taken care of. But in order to do that, they have to basically drive traffic to some page and get sources and referrals to make sure that, you know, people are actually seeing your property and that they're actually, you know, interested in renting it out. So ask them for their marketing plan. If they don't have one, that might be a reason to move on to the next one. But really understand kind of how did they get their sources and their traffic today? You know, what percentage comes from what source, and is there any like best practices that they have? Because, you know, most of them who are doing this for multiple properties can give you advice, and they take care of kind of the photos for the property, what should go where, what should be in the description, as well as, you know, other marketing best practices. So definitely make sure you ask that. So if you have any other questions or ideas on how to choose a property manager, again, we'll link the one that we use just because we think they're great in the notes below, but feel free to comment on this video and we will get back to you shortly.